morning, girls. This is Kathleen Bradley, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
Ed Robertson with a reminder that Louise Sorrell will join us later on this hour. We hope you stay tuned for that. In the meantime, earlier in our program, we commemorated the 60th anniversary of the premiere of F Troop. F Troop, the Western comedy starring Ken Berry, Forrest Tucker, and Larry Storch, produced by Warner Brothers, that premiered on ABC in September 1965. As long as we are in an F Troop frame of mind, we're playing highlights from the conversation that we had with Ken Berry in January 2018 as part of our program this week. It was a well-rounded conversation in which we touched on many of the highlights of Ken's 60-year career as an entertainer, including his early years with the Billy Barnes Revue and working in Las Vegas along with Abbott and Costello, his friendship with Buster Keaton, not to mention the major influence the silent film star had on Ken's career, and the important roles that Carol Burnett, Lucille Ball, and Leonard Nimoy all played at various points in Ken's career. As we pick up our conversation, before we went to break, Ken and I were talking about the Billy Barnes Revue, just to give you an idea of just how talented that ensemble was that Ken was a part of. I mean, the Billy Barnes Ensemble, it's the original cast members besides Ken included Bert Convy and Gilbert from the Dick Van Dyke Show, Lenny Weinrib, Jackie Joseph, later on Joanne Worley, later on Charles Nelson Riley. I mean, you talk about a talented pack of players.
Yeah, talk about strong sketch people. You know, they could step right into a variety show and do the sketches and really score big, because they were all very funny people. I'm like what you were mentioning at the beginning in your opening remarks. What I did in the show was I was called the utility man, and that's all I've ever thought of myself as, to tell you the truth. You know, where can I fit in? Where can I make this work for me? And it turned out to be like as the utility man. You know, when the handsome leading man is unavailable because he's doing something else, then I'd step in and I'd do that part. Or the comic, like Lenny Weinrib was a great comic, and I would step in and try to get the laughs that Lenny got, and you just keep learning and learning. And it's a good thing, because I couldn't afford to take acting lessons or anything. You know, that happened a little later. When I got out of the Army, then I went to school for a while on the GI Bill, and I studied dance and acting and singing and all that stuff.
Well, two things. One, do not sell yourself short, Ken, because if you follow sports, and it sounds like you do, every championship team needs a good utility man. I mean, because a lot of times they do what needs to be done to help the team win, and it all comes together at the end. Although, in my opinion, you're more than a utility man; you're a superstar. But
oh no, oh, I never was that.
Now, you mentioned that after you did some stage and television work, you took some formal training. But obviously, you had been dancing, long before you joined the Army. When did you first realize that you had that skill, that talent to dance?
Well, I remember the first night I went to the local grade school where I had gone to grade school there and finished the 6th grade, and I think it must have been in the fall of that year when I was going to go into junior high school. I went back to my grade school, and they had a carnival on where, people bobbed for apples, and they would show their hobbies. I had a coin collection that my grandfather really put together. And anyway, I wandered into this little school auditorium, and on stage there were a bunch of kids my own age or a little younger, a little older. They were all from the Maureen Bennett School of Dance in Rock Island, Illinois. I'm from Moline. And anyway, I saw that, and I knew in a flash. I always wondered what I was going to do, Grown-ups used to ask you all the time when you were a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was always stuck for an answer, but I knew now, and I knew with all my heart that that's what I wanted to do.
Well, Obviously, you had that gift early on, and going back to what you mentioned a little while ago about there are moments where it seemed like an angel was on your shoulder because, Lucille Ball might be in the audience of the Billy Barnes Revue, or Carol Burnett might be in the audience of the Billy Barnes Revue. But there's luck, but you have to make the most of the opportunity when it's given to you, and clearly you did that time and again.
Yeah, you don't ever want to walk through a performance. Mm-hmm. You never know who's out there.
We're talking to Ken Berry. Our conversation with Ken originally aired in January 2018, a few months before Ken's passing in December of that year. Calendar year 2025 marks the 60th anniversary of the premiere of F Troop Ken Berry's first television series as a leading man. Another thing I learned while I was just doing some homework last night, Ken, you're a fan of Buster Keaton.
Yes, he happened to be... wound up being a friend of mine. Mm-hmm. One of the girls in the Billy Barnes Revue, Jackie Joseph. Mm-hmm. Well, Jackie and I got married. Mm-hmm. And Jackie had just gotten back from Las Vegas, where she worked in a show with Buster Keaton and a couple of other people from that era. Rudy Valley was one of them. Mm-hmm. Paul Whiteman and his orchestra. He was a big orchestral jazz orchestra. And Jackie had befriended Buster and Eleanor, his wife, and we started a social life through those people, along with the people from the Billy Barnes Revue. Mm-hmm. And we'd go out to Buster's house, and he'd have... he was very casual. Always, you had to wear your Buster clothes because Buster was the name of his Saint Bernard.
Yes.
And Buster slobbered all over you. They had a really warm and nice house, had a pool, and Buster had a train set, and he used to mix drinks in the garage and put the drinks on the train and send them out by the pool. And anyway, he was terrific at that point in his life. He was just a gentle, kind soul. I really thought the world of him. Eleanor, I loved Eleanor.
Yes, well, many years ago, when I was in school, I took a few film classes, and apparently there are two schools. There are those who like Chaplin, and there are those who like Keaton. And I guess there are those who like both, but I've always admired Buster Keaton because of the physicality of what he did. I mean, whether it's the general, whether it's all the shorts that he did. I mean, to set up all those elaborate stunts and pull it off in one take, that's not only brilliance, because he had the vision to put that together, but all the athleticism he showed in a lot of those things. And I understand that when you did F Troop many years later, you channeled Buster in a lot of ways when you put together the stuff you did as Parmenter.
Oh, yeah, well, that was another thing that I had never done in my life was physical comedy. Mm-hmm. And then I got this, what turned out to be a series of screen tests, mm-hmm. because after they confirmed that I had gotten the job, I would still go in and I'd do a screen test with another person that they were considering for F Troop. Mm-hmm. And I just happened to do some physical stuff. It was in the script. Mm-hmm. That Parmenter, Captain Parmenter, which was my character, mm-hmm. was very clumsy. Mm-hmm. And so there was that much. But I added some things, some physical stuff too that wasn't in the script for the on the test, and they liked it, and then they started to go ahead and just write in the script business to be worked out with Ken on the set. So I sort of never knew when I was going to do any of that stuff, but yeah, Buster really came to mind when I was doing a lot of things, and apropos of that, I am a huge fan of Buster Keaton, mm-hmm. long before I ever met him. And one night he called me, having seen F Troop, and he said, "That was a good gag last night." And whoa, yeah, and it's like, like getting a rave review from the biggest star.
Absolutely, that is high praise. that is high praise indeed, coming from an idol and coming from a friend of yours. And going back to, it got to the point where the writers would say, Parmenter will do something and Ken will work it out. That's a great compliment to you, Ken, in that they knew that whatever they came up with, you would come up with something better because you knew the character and you knew what you could do as a performer, and that's a great compliment to you.
Yeah, oh, it certainly was. Certainly was. And the only time that I ever had time to think about it was when, it was long before we did open the second year. Mm-hmm. The second year, incidentally, we opened in color. Mm-hmm. The first year was in black and white on F Troop. And then in the opening of the second show, which incidentally starred Harvey Korman, who was the guest star. Mm-hmm. And you know Chris, his son.
Yes.
And Harvey was wonderful in it too. But in the opening scene, they wanted me to do a whole shot where the camera was tracking down the street in the town of Fort Courage, and I would I would take all these missteps and near misses and stuff like that, and then I was reading a letter that had just been handed me by Wrangler Jane, and I was so preoccupied with it that I didn't realize what I was doing, and I wind up doing a little stunt, and then winding up on my feet, and then continuing out of the shot, and that really worked out well, and that was great fun for me. And it was sort of like being back in the old days when you had a chance to work with your gag writers. Mm-hmm. Incidentally, a gag is really a sight gag. You know, it's physical comedy. Mm-hmm. And that was something like I would have loved to have tried, you know, back in the really old days of filmmaking. I'd like to have tried what Buster did. You know, that would have been great.
Well, obviously, in doing what you did on F Troop, you channeled a lot of Buster, and you made Buster proud. And I've said this before, I'm going to say this to you, Ken. It takes great skill to, quote-unquote, play clumsy, but to do it gracefully and to look natural and to get it all in one take.
Yeah, it comes from learning choreography and being in control, at least to that extent. You know, it helps a lot.
Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back. One more item. If you're starting a company, particularly one that is in an emerging market, you know that averting any sort of legal dispute is crucial to your business plan. Our friends at Tectonic Law offer an array of services that can help you avoid and preempt future litigation while also developing and protecting your intellectual property and intangible assets. Tectonic Law serves the needs of a host of emerging industries throughout California and beyond, including industrial designers, beverage makers, artists, farmers, retail stores, health practitioners, wellness experts, cosmetics manufacturers, nonprofit organizations, innovators in sustainable practices, and libraries. Go to tectoniclaw.com to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
Ed Robertson, thanking you for listening to the TV Confidential podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button so that you won't miss our next episode.
This is Larry Storch, and you are listening to TV Confidential. There, what do you say to that?
You're listening to a conversation with Ken Berry that originally aired in January 2018, a few months before Ken's passing in December of that year. Ken Berry, the actor known around the world as Sam Jones on Mayberry RFD, Vinton Harper on Mama's Family, and Captain Parmenter on F Troop. F Troop premiered on ABC 60 years ago this year. Ken Berry is sharing a few memories of his career on stage, film, and television on our program tonight. You mentioned Rudy Vallée a couple minutes ago as one of the people you met while you were with the Billy Barnes Revue.
I didn't know. Rudy Valley was a big singer. He was like Bing Crosby, he was a huge star way back when. And no, I did not meet Rudy. My ex-wife met Rudy Valley.
Well, okay, your ex-wife met Rudy Valley back then, but fast forward a few years, during the Christmas holiday, I binged-watched Ellery Queen. And I forgot you did one of those shows with Jim Hutton and David Wayne, and the show that you did was with Rudy Valley. You did a lot of scenes with Rudy Valley.
Oh, my gosh, that's right.
Yeah.
I had forgotten that.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I lied again. I did with Rudy Valley.
Well, yeah, okay,
yeah,
all right.
I really like Jim Hutton, too. Yeah, and I like that show. That was fun.
Now, Jim Hutton was another guy, at least on that show, because he was a tall guy, and because he was known to do light comedy, sometimes they had him bump into stuff, and he was another guy who was able to pull that off, but look very graceful. What I'm saying is, sometimes some actors try too hard to be funny, but you never did that. I mean, whatever you had to do, whether it was physical or whether it was on Mama's Family or RFD, you looked very natural doing it.
Oh, thank you. I remember Jim Hutton handled, especially I thought, light comedy really well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was good.
He was very, very good. Now, let's see. Now, of course, we mentioned earlier that you played Vinton on Mama's Family, and Vinton, I think you once described Vinton as the dumb blonde on the show. So that was the character he played, and he would do punchlines or be straight man to Vicky. But I understand that your catchphrase, "I love you, Skeeter," that you used on Mama's Family, that was something you drew on from one of the Army.
Oh yeah, that's it's something that amused me. And very few things amused me in those days. I was in the Army and I was in the artillery, and every place you went, you stood in line, of course. Mm-hmm. And there were a couple of guys. They were the shortest guys in the outfit. They were shorter than I was, and they just found each other. They liked each other a lot, and they were good old country boys. And one of them, they got to wrestling or horsing around or something. And he said, "But get off my neck!" He was hugging the other guy, and when standing in line for chow or something. And he said, "What are you doing that for?" And the other guy said, "Because I love you, Skeeter." And so I used that all the time on Mama's Family.
Yeah, and obviously the writers liked it because they would work that in. Of course, you played Vinton on the Mama's Family series, but you played another character on the Eunice special that preceded Mama's Family. You played her brother Philip, who is the writer. And that stands out. And again, this goes back to what we said about you're one of the few performers who could do comedy and drama and do it very well. And that stands out, and I understand that that's one of your favorite roles because it's one of the few times that you were specifically asked to play a dramatic character.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. I was in a sketch, of course. It was called The Family Sketch that Carol Burnett did every once in a while. And that's where Mama came from. Mm-hmm. And anyway, the first one that played that role of Philip was Roddy McDowell. Mm-hmm. I saw that on one of the Carol Burnett shows. Mm-hmm. And then I think Alan Alda was in one of the sketches, one of the family sketches. I don't know what character he played, but it might have been Philip. Mm-hmm. Yes, and he's the sane one, and he's the one through whom you see, you take this objective look at the family, and the family is really messed up.
Yeah,
and it's funny, but it's the one thing that they did on the show, which is semi-serious. Because she got hurt, she got her feelings hurt, and they'd get really mad at each other, and they weren't necessarily playing it for comedy. It was one of the more realistic sketches.
Yeah, and folks, if you haven't seen it, look it up. One of Ken's best scenes as Philip on the Eunice special is on YouTube, so check it out. It's the scene in the bedroom where he basically forces Eunice to look at herself and say, okay, look, you have to take responsibility for your life. And whatever you did to prepare yourself for that moment, I mean, you did it well. It's a very powerful scene.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. As a matter of fact, Carol came to me and said, I think you should write this scene yourself.
Oh, wow.
The speech yourself. And so I did, and I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad it was effective, at least for you and me.
Ken Berry from a conversation that originally aired in January 2018, a few months before Ken's passing in December of that year. F Troop, the first television series starring Ken Berry, originally premiered 60 years ago this year. Take a quick time out, then we'll welcome back Louise Sorel when we come back here on TV Confidential.
If you're a diabetic, we have great news. You can end the painful finger sticks with a new CGM. Plus, they may be covered by Medicare, Medicaid, or private insurance. If you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you may qualify. Call US Med now to learn more.
800-432-8150. 800-432-8150. 800-432-8150. That's 800-432-8150.